The night my name flashed across the TV screen, my mother dropped her fork. My brother froze mid-laugh, and my father, who once said I'd never amount to anything, slowly took off his glasses like he was seeing me for the first time. The same girl they used to mock for chasing impossible dreams was now being called the youngest self-made millionaire in the state. But that moment wasn't about money. It was about everything that came before it. The years of being dismissed, ignored, laughed at, and told I was delusional. I wasn't born with privilege or luck. I was born with something they didn't see coming, the need to prove them wrong. My name is Lily Carter, and this is the story of how I turned every insult, every smirk, and every "you'll never make it" into the loudest "I told you so" of my life. I grew up in a small town where dreams were limited to what you could see. My father worked as a mechanic, my mother, a school secretary. My brother, Danny, had been the golden child since kindergarten, captain of everything, hero of nothing. I was the quiet one, the girl who drew in notebooks, read business magazines at 14, and believed she'd be rich one day. At dinner, whenever I mentioned my ideas, designing apps, starting a business, creating something big, they'd laugh. My father would pat my shoulder and say, "Sweetheart, you'll understand when you're older. People like us don't get rich." That line stuck like glass in my chest. When I was 17, I told them I'd skip college and build a company instead. My mother dropped her plate. My father said, "You'll end up flipping burgers." Danny laughed, "You can't even drive yet, Lily." That night, I made a promise to myself. If they wouldn't believe in me, I'd believe harder. I didn't know how yet, but I knew why. And that why became the fire that changed everything. It started with a cracked phone screen. I was saving up for college applications, working part-time at a diner, when a customer asked if I knew a cheap place to fix it. I said I could try. I spent 2 nights watching repair tutorials, ordered a $10 toolkit online, and somehow brought his phone back to life. He gave me $20 and told his coworkers. By the end of that month, I was fixing phones for half the town. My parents thought it was cute. A hobby, they called it. But to me, it was a start. I named my tiny idea Fix Up, scribbled a logo on a sticky note, and created an Instagram page. Orders trickled in, then poured. I turned our garage into a workshop, hiring 2 of my high school friends. We started offering pickup and drop-off services. People loved it. But when my father came home one night and saw the garage filled with wires, boxes, and customers waiting outside, he blew up. "You're turning our house into a circus," he yelled. "No one's getting rich fixing screens." That night I cried in the dark, but not because I believed him. I cried because it hurt that he didn't believe in me. I went back to work the next morning before sunrise. Then one day, a customer walked in wearing a suit, someone I didn't recognize. He asked me how long I'd been doing this. I told him my story, trying not to sound nervous. He smiled and said, "You might want to check your email later." That night, I got the message that would change everything. A local investor wanted to meet me. The investor's name was Gregory Lane, a quiet man in his 40s with a tech background. When I met him at a cafe, he listened more than he talked. He asked about my process, my clients, my goals. "I want to make this bigger," I said. "Not just phone repairs, electronics recycling, refurbishing, maybe even a trade-in app." He nodded. "You remind me of me at your age." Within weeks, he offered to mentor me and invest a small amount, just enough to rent a workspace and register the business properly. I was 18 when Fix Up Electronics officially launched. The first year was chaos. I learned how to negotiate with suppliers, file taxes, and keep employees motivated when everything was falling apart. I slept 3 hours a night, answered calls between homework assignments, and skipped parties to work on prototypes. Meanwhile, my family still didn't take me seriously. My mom worried about wasting my youth. My father refused to talk about the business at all. Danny said I was playing CEO. But when Fix Up partnered with a local electronics chain, the orders exploded. By 19, I had 6 employees. By 20, we were recycling thousands of devices a month, helping families trade in old electronics for cash. We even built a mobile app, something I'd dreamed about for years. Still, my family never once congratulated me. On my 21st birthday, my dad asked, "You ever think of getting a real job?" I smiled and said, "You'll see one day." And they did. I realized then, success isn't about money, it's about silence. The kind of silence that falls when people who doubted you suddenly have nothing left to say. I worked even harder. I expanded Fix Up into 2 nearby cities. We started a sustainability campaign that went viral online. Then one day, a journalist from a local news station reached out. "Lily, we're doing a segment on young entrepreneurs making a difference. Can we feature you?" I almost said no. I was terrified of attention. But something inside me whispered, "They need to see this." The interview aired the following evening. It showed my team, our small factory, and clips of me talking about e-waste and second chances for devices and people. I didn't tell my family it was happening. I wanted them to find out on their own. That night, I heard the news anchor's voice drifting from the living room. "Tonight's spotlight. Meet Lily Carter, the 21-year-old CEO turning trash into tech." My heart raced. From my bedroom, I could hear their voices drop. Then, silence. I stepped into the living room. My mom was holding her mouth with both hands. My brother's jaw had dropped. My dad just stared at the screen like he'd seen a ghost. The caption read, "From small-town garage to tech empire, Lily Carter, the million-dollar mind." The next morning, everything changed. Calls poured in. Investors, clients, schools inviting me to speak. I couldn't believe it. For years, I'd begged for attention. Now I could barely breathe from it. When I came downstairs, my father was sitting at the table, newspaper open to my photo. "You made the front page," he said quietly. I waited for the sarcasm, the usual mockery, but it never came. Instead, he said something I'd been waiting my whole life to hear. I was wrong. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. He looked older than I remembered, tired, maybe even proud. My mom hugged me. Danny just shook his head, still speechless. For the first time, our house wasn't filled with laughter at me, but because of me. That same week, I was invited to speak at a business summit in the city. Gregory smiled when I told him. "You've earned this," he said. Standing on that stage, facing hundreds of people, I remembered all the nights I worked alone in the cold garage. All the times I overheard my father say I was wasting my time. All the laughter that once made me feel small. So I told them the truth. I didn't start with money or confidence or support. I started with doubt, mine and everyone else's, and I turned it into fuel. The audience stood and clapped. Cameras flashed. For a moment, I felt weightless. Later that night, I sat in my car, staring at the skyline. It hit me. I'd become the person I always wanted to be. But it wasn't just about proving them wrong anymore. It was about proving me right. Months passed. Fix Up expanded into new states, employing dozens of people. We started a scholarship fund for young women in tech, especially those who'd been told their dreams were too big. My parents came to our new office one weekend. My father looked around quietly, touching the polished counters and the framed newspaper articles. "You built all this?" he asked. "With every word you said, I couldn't," I replied softly. He smiled. "Then I guess I helped, didn't I?" I laughed. "In a way, yeah, you did." My mother wiped her eyes. Danny asked if I could get him an internship. That night, we had dinner together. No teasing, no mockery, just quiet pride. But deep down, I didn't crave their approval anymore. I'd already learned that the loudest laughs often come before the biggest silences, and that the only voice you truly need to listen to is your own. One evening, I returned home late, passed by my old garage, and stopped at the door. The same dusty space where it all began. The air still smelled like solder and coffee. I whispered, "We did it," to the girl I used to be. People will laugh when your dreams don't make sense to them. They'll mock what they don't understand and belittle what they can't see for themselves. But the truth is, every great story starts with disbelief. I wasn't special. I didn't have connections or a plan that made sense on paper. I just refused to give up when they laughed. Because sometimes the difference between crazy and visionary is simply that one of them doesn't quit. So, if you ever hear someone laughing when you share your dream, don't argue. Don't explain. Just smile and keep building quietly. One day, they'll see you on the news. And when they do, let them remember the sound of their own laughter. Because that sound will never drown out the power of your persistence.